In this video, we will discuss the statistical principles behind the design of experiments. Design of experiments, also known as DOE, is a statistical methodology for planning experiments in advance so that the results can be used to establish causal relationships between treatments and outcomes. There are four principles in the design of experiments. They are control, replicate, randomize, and stratify. Why do we need a control in experimental design? Well, it turns out that it's often very challenging to measure a phenomenon in absolute terms. Instead, experiments are usually designed to measure the change induced by a treatment relative to a baseline. The control group provides a point of reference for measuring the effects of a treatment. All conditions other than the treatment being tested should be identical between the control group and the treatment group. In clinical trials of medical treatments, a placebo is often given to the control group so that patients experience a similar perception of receiving treatment in both the control group and the treatment group. Why do we need to replicate in experimental design? It turns out that measurements based on single instances are highly prone to chance error. So we replicate each condition by applying it to multiple experimental units to obtain a more stable measurement and to estimate the variability of observations. Another type of replication is to run the entire experiment multiple times in different populations to ensure the reproducibility of results. The most important principle in design of experiments is randomization. Without randomization, the results of an experiment could easily be confounded by factors that are not related to the treatment. Suppose we have a population of experimental units. We can take random draws to produce a control group and a treatment group. Randomized allocation of experimental units makes the control group and the treatment group statistically equivalent. This helps to minimize the risk of selection bias. While randomization helps to control for bias, stratification helps to reduce the variance of sample estimates. Suppose you have a population of experimental units that can fall into two categories, represented by the blue dots and the purple dots. Stratified sampling is a process in which random sampling is applied within each category such that there is equal representation of the categories in both the control group and the treatment group. Stratified allocation of experimental units improves measurement precision by reducing the sampling error. Because the variability of units across different categories is usually higher than the variability within each category, controlling for the representation of categories helps to ensure the samples are more similar. To recap, the four principles of experimental design are control, replicate, randomize, and stratify. This wraps our introduction to the design of experiments. Thank you for watching. See you next time.